Welcome to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life. It's me alone again. Joe's still at her crafting thing. But today we're at the Janney Furnace, and let's see what we can learn about this furnace. You can see it behind me in the background. We'll take a closer look at it, and we'll read some information about the furnace and see some other things that are here right beside the furnace. So let's take a look. There is a historical marker here. It says the Janney Furnace was constructed by Montgomery businessman Alfred A. Janney, reportedly using slaves brought from Tennessee by a Dr. Smith. The furnace was completed and ready to produce pig iron when, on July 14, 1864, a Union cavalry raiding force of 2,300 men, led by Major General Lovell H. Rousseau, crossed the Coosa River at Ten Islands Ford en route to destroying the railroad between Montgomery and West Point, Georgia. Learning of the location of the furnace, Rousseau dispatched his engineer officer, Captain Ed Ruger, and a detachment to destroy the chimney of the furnace, leaving the stone structure in place. They also burned all wooden buildings intended to support operation of the furnace. And here's what's left of the furnace. Have a gate over the front, just like another gate over the side. Another gate down here. Says the noble, the chivalric, the gallant Wilhelm is no more. How much he was beloved, appreciated, and admired, that the tears of agony we have shed, and the gloom of mourning throughout every command, bear witness. His loss to the country is irreparable. This is for Major John Pelham, born in Calhoun County, Alabama, Confederate States Army. The gallant Pelham, said by Robert E. Lee. So that's kind of interesting. We can see what remains of the top. Then if we look over here, it talks about iron ore. Brown hematite, easily seen on the hillside, was the most common form of iron ore in this area. The ore was extracted using hand pick, then loaded onto wagons, and transported to the furnace for processing into quality pig iron. The pig iron could be further refined into cast iron and other products. On the other side, the community. The furnace was supported by a nearby community, which is a direct result of the furnace, became virtually self-sufficient. It would have included cabins for slaves and other laborers, a blacksmith shop, a general store, a church, and a cemetery. The exact site of this community is unknown, but will hopefully be located through future archaeological investigations. And here we have the charcoal house and charging bridge. Materials used in iron production were brought along this path by horse-drawn wagon. Charcoal made from wood cut near the furnace was stored in this area. It had to be near the charging bridge to be loaded along with iron ore and limestone into the stack atop the furnace. Huge amounts of charcoal were needed to fuel the constant fire. The dangerous task of loading the charcoal and other materials was left to men known as fillers. Reservoir and blower house. The reservoir, dug by hand, provided water to a steam engine that powered large bellows located on the sides of the furnace. These bellows stoked the intense fire needed to smelt the iron ore. The blower house covered the steam engine, sheltering it from elements and made equipment maintenance easier. This is interesting. And then there's an old house up here. There's some bleachers up here, so it looks like they periodically do some kind of program up here that would tell us more about everything that happens up here. And if we come up here and look on the porch, it says this is the Daniels house, built around 1843 near Bowling Springs Church, 5 miles from the Janney Furnace. The house was nearly destroyed by April 2011 tornado. It was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Gerald Acker. It was donated to the Calhoun County Commission in May of 2012. From June 1st, 2012 to January 15th, 2013, it was restored. And then there's a little bit of information on this sign over here. Let's get a better look at this house. Looks like there's an outhouse in the background over here. And then back here appears to be an old wooden barn of some sort. Oh, there's another outhouse. I don't know whether or not we can see anything inside the cabin. Looks like there's a table and some piece of equipment in there, but I'm not sure what it is. So,
Russo had been in contact with General William Tecumseh Sherman for about a year. Sherman's planning his attack on the city of Atlanta. He wanted Russo to bring all that cavalry down to this little area in Alabama. What was the name of it? Anyway, he's got all of that up there in Alabama. It's an area that's under Union occupation already. But he wanted to use that cavalry to jump off from Decatur. That was it. To jump off from Decatur, raid southeast across the state of Alabama, down to the Montgomery to West Point, Georgia Railroad. This is an east-west track. He wanted Rousseau to tear that track up, and that would keep Confederate men and material from coming down there and then turning north and quickly reinforcing Atlanta. That would make Sherman's attack on the city easier, so they thought. So that was Rousseau's primary mission. Secondary to that, he's supposed to take out any military target of opportunity along his path of march. So he crosses the Coosa River, finds all these iron-producing places out here, to include our own Janney Furnace. For Janney Furnace, he gets a Captain Ed Ruger. gives him 300 cavalry and a set of written orders to go and burn down the Janney Furnace and any buildings that support it. He and his happy band in blue come riding over the hills out there. And they come up on the furnace, and sure enough, there's a Confederate militia unit guarding the place. This militia unit consists of 2 old guys, both of them over the age of 60, who are in charge, and 6 young fellows between the ages of 13 and 16. There's your militia. You can guess where this is about to go. Well, the 300 professionals rode down on the 8 amateurs. They killed 2 of the kids almost instantly. And the rest of that militia unit dropped guns, dropped packs, shoes, ran into the woods as hard as they could go. I don't blame them a bit. If I'd been in charge of it, I might have done it too. But the cavalry did not chase the militia into the woods. They came back, carried out their mission. They burned down the furnace out here. And old Captain Ed Reuter, in addition to being a cavalryman, he was a captain of engineers. And what that means is he's allowed to play with dynamite. And he brought some, so he put it around the small chimney next to the main stack, blew that little chimney off of it. And he looked at his orders. The order said to burn the Janney Furnace and any buildings that support it. All around the Janney Furnace out here, there's a mixed race community. And there's a livery stable and grocery stores and general store, whatever you want to call it. And there's houses and shacks all around the area. Well, Ruger looks at that and he says, you know what? He said at least some of the people that live in those houses and shacks must work up here at the furnace. So in that way, those buildings are supporting the furnace. So just to be safe, he burns the whole place down. Everything's burnt to the ground. They did an excellent job of it, too. We're still looking for parts of it. Anyway, kind of brings us full score around. What we have, the furnace and the monument and the museum for, is to remember our history. Calhoun County Council runs, they own the place. They like me to emphasize Calhoun County history, of course. So with that in mind, all of this history I've given you from beginning to end took place in about a 20-mile length along this Highway 144 out here. All that history is jammed together.
the war memorial. Looks like there's all kinds of names on the wall. John Pelham stands out there in the middle. A whole lot more names. This is the Calhoun County Confederate Memorial at the Janney Furnace Park. It says on January 11th, 1861, the state of Alabama seceded from the Union and joined the Confederate States of America. On April 15th, 1861, the United States declared war on the Confederacy. The citizens of Calhoun County were among the first in Alabama to respond to the invasion of our sovereign soil. Over 4,000 of Calhoun County's best and finest men left to defend the safety of their families, their homes, and independence of our nation, the Confederate States of America. 4 years later, over 2,000 lay slain, and less than half survived to return home. Calhoun County lost more men in the war for Southern independence than Alabama's total combined war dead of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. And this memorial listed the names of all the people that died during the Confederate War. And then here's even more names over here, and a picture of Robert E. Lee in the middle. These are the known names. That's not necessarily all the names. Man, that's a lot of names. And then around the corner, just past the flag, is the furnace. So that was interesting. I was not aware of everything. That sure was a lot of people that died for the Confederacy. I knew that this was a Confederate state, so it doesn't surprise me that there were so many on the Confederate side here. But it's amazing the history that we can find still sitting around if we just take a minute to look around. So I hope you liked this episode. If you did, like, subscribe, and leave us a message and let us know what you think.